All right. They call you One-Eyed Jack?
Yes, sir.
Jack, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I was originally born in Vineland, New Jersey. I lived in Brooklyn, New York, slash the Bronx until for a brief period of time until my parents died. When I say my parents died, my dad decided to come home one day and sit on my porch and wait for my mom to get home, and then he decided to shoot her 5 times and shoot himself once in the forehead, which I did not find out till I was about 13 years old. Up until then, I was told that my parents died in a car accident. And then one Saturday morning, my aunt and my aunt who raised me with my grandmother and grandfather, me and my 2 sisters, asked me, how do you think your parents died? I said, in a car accident. And she said, read this, and gave me a police report that said, homicide, suicide. And then explained to me in depth that my dad sat on the porch, waited for mom to get home, and shot her 5 times and then shot himself in the forehead. That was a hell of a hit. Like, whoa. What can you do?
That was when you were 13?
13, yeah. I mean, whether they got killed or died in a car accident, either way, they're dead. It's not going to change. But
how did that affect you, you think, after you learned that?
Well, the first thing I did was go to my friend's house, who was a couple blocks down the street, and open a beer and get fucked up. And did what I could to shove it as far down into my memory as I could and try not to remember it at all.
Why do you think your dad murdered your mom?
Because my mom and dad were separated. My mom was living in the house with us while he stayed in an apartment and paid for the mortgage for the house. And he was paying the mortgage for the house so she could live there with us. And he was living in an apartment and running 3 pizzerias. I couldn't tell you the first thing about it, to be honest with you. Like I said, until I always thought they died in a car accident, so I never really asked too many questions about how happily ever after they were. I mean, I know one story I had heard was my mom decided she was going to get a job she was going to start working to make a little extra money, so she got a job at a pizzeria. My dad had 4 pizzerias. She decided to go work at another pizzeria. When he could have definitely used the help in one of his. So, I mean, I'm sure they were definitely like any other couple. I mean, they tit for tat and spiteful to each other. And do I feel any of it was, what you could say, deemed justifiable for being murdered? No. Who knows? I mean, there's this thing called a crime of passion. That's when you somewhat lose your mind, in a sense, when it comes to your relationship with another person or whatever it may be. I don't know. I couldn't even begin to understand it.
You don't know the details. So.
Huh?
You don't know the details.
Not too much. I never really.
What were your teenager years like?
I was a little badass. I grew up in a house. I grew up with my grandfather, who died when I was 13 as well, from emphysema. So I watched him die the last 10 years of my life. I grew up in a house with 4 women. I've had 2 menopauses already, my aunt and my grandmother's, okay? I learned I'm wrong, they're right, I'm dumb, they're smart, I'm not going to win. I could tell you the sky's blue, they're going to tell me it's green, and I'm wrong, and everybody that agrees with me will be wrong too. That's it. That's just how it was. But it was a very old-fashioned Italian household. They did everything from scratch. They made sauce, bread, pasta, everything. It was just a very old-fashioned household. I grew up speaking Italian fluently. I was definitely loved, I know that. But like I said, a bunch of loud, obnoxious, loudmouth, yelling at Italians. With a whole lot of love, though. We were definitely loved, me and 2 sisters.
That's great.
I was definitely not your good kid, though, I'll tell you how much.
You were getting in trouble?
All the time. I got kicked out of the 5th grade for fighting. By the time I was in the 5th grade, I'd broken every finger on my hand except for one. Did good in middle school. Did my 8th grade graduation. Went through high school. 3 days before I was supposed to graduate, I got kicked out. Didn't get to graduate. Shortly after that, I had my episode. I was working full-time as a plumber and going out with this girl who, when I was 13 years old, I danced with her at my oldest sister's sweet 16. First girl I ever danced with. She was 2 years older than me, and I had the biggest crush on her. Since then, honestly, it's like, wow. I was mesmerized, you could say, by her. Never really had the opportunity to pursue it. Somehow, someway, years and years and years later, I had the opportunity to hook up with her, and I did. And I fell in love with her. I was head over heels in love with her, with everything about her. We quickly moved in together, where it was me, her, and her son, my stepson at the time. Shortly after that, her mom moved in, and her sister moved in. I was working full-time as a plumber, and I was living in Venice, as a matter of fact, right here off of San Juan Court and Electric, in a back house. And I was secretly going back and forth to Maryland, bringing packages of things that people really enjoyed over there, you could say, and making one hell of a profit. And then her ex-boyfriend decided to come knock on my door one day, early in the morning too. And I told her, we're gonna call her, well, let's call her Eileen, okay? I don't know, I'm not gonna go, Carmen, her name's Carmen, okay? I told Carmen, you're gonna wait 5 minutes, you're gonna go outside. Don't bring them in the house. I'm gonna go next door. I'm gonna sit there and listen to see what the fuck this dude's gotta say. Do not bring them in the house. So I went out the front door, went next door, sat in the backyard and listened to this dude beg and plea and sound like a complete fucking sucker. And her very firmly, adamantly tell him, no, I don't want nothing to do with you, you know? And so when I got done hearing this dude irritate the shit out of me, I stepped outside and he turned around and he looked at me like as if he saw the devil. His face got all pale and his expressions got all... And I was like, what's up, dude? What are you doing here? You fucked yours up. You had your opportunity and you ruined it. I go, we're together now, and he says, I can't have it. I said, you can't have it. It's none of your business. You had your opportunity, you ruined it. You decided to hit her, beat her, and completely destroy her. I go, we're together right now. If it doesn't work out, so be it. Delegates, God bless the both of you. Have a ball. But as of right now, she's my old lady, and I'm not going to get up and move because you say no or because you can't have it. Go fuck yourself. And in the midst of my conversation, he grabs me, pushes me towards my door, and runs into my house. I kind of realized what was going on. So I turned around, I ran in there too, turned around and locked the door. And that's when these gentlemen came running up to the window on the side of the house and began shooting into my house. And then I shot back. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get them. They left, but then I realized that we're dead smack in the middle of the hood. And now I've got some of them on this end of the alley, some of them on this end of the alley. There was a couple of them in the building across the hall, the alleyway too.
And they were coming after him or you?
Well, us at this point. At this point, we're their rivals, you could say. And
but who are they really targeting?
Us, him and I at this point.
Why the both of you?
Because once they shot in my house, I shot back at them.
But initially, who were they coming after?
Him.
Right.
Yes, absolutely him.
I got it, but you shot back, so now you're in it.
Yeah, well, now I'm stuck in the middle of it. And so I made a phone call to someone who's like my older brother, and he said, just sit tight. He calls me back a couple minutes later. He said, when I call you, come out the front door and come out the front of the house onto the street. Bring him with you. He asked me if I had a strap. I said, I got a strap. There's only one bullet left. He said, well, have that bullet ready. I said, what the fuck? But nevertheless, he called. Him and another guy, and they came with 2 AKs, and we went out the front. There was no gunplay exchanged, and got in the car and we left. And for some stupid, selfish reason, me and that guy were together that night. We were together the next day, the next morning, the next night, next day after that, 3 days in a row. Because of what just happened, if you catch my hand, it's time for us to show them. And then that was it. It was over. 3 days later, I was at City Walk one day. Had a great fucking day. I mean, we spent all day at City Walk. Me, my girlfriend, and her son at the time. My stepson at the time. We had a great day at City Walk. I mean, we literally, I still remember we had a beautiful day. Spent the whole day there. Came home. And it wasn't even nighttime yet. It was about to become nighttime. And so I asked my stepson at the time, I said, are you hungry, Marky? He said, I said, you eat a pizza, Marky? He said, I'll eat some pizza, Jack. I said, all right, Marky, I'm going to go get a pizza. And I called in an order at Shakey's Pizza. I left the house. I wasn't even at Shakey's for 15 minutes. I went in, grabbed the pizza, came back to my car, put down the pizza, the chicken, the potatoes, and my gun, exactly in that order. And I lit a cigarette. I started the car, and I rolled down my window. I turned my head to go reverse, and her ex-boyfriend put a .38 to my head. Told me, don't be scared. And shot. I told him, quit fucking with me, the hammer's back. And he shot me once here, once here. Causing me to lose my left eye and the whole right side of my skull. I spent 1.5 years in the hospital. Oh, after he shot me, I got out the car. I walked to the front of the restaurant because I wanted to wash my face. I remember that vividly. For some reason, I wanted to wash my face. I had no idea really what had happened to me. But for some reason, I couldn't get into the restaurant. I don't know why. I don't know if they were closed or what. And by that time, the cops had got there, and they were surrounding me, just like 3 or 4 cops. But I didn't know what was going on. I just kept yelling and kicking and spitting at them. I didn't do anything. Leave me alone. I didn't do anything. Leave me alone. And I continued walking. I got shot right here. Okay, this is Shakey's. I got shot right here on this part of Shakey's. I walked through the parking lot, got to the front of Shakey's, cops were there. Walked over here, got to this side of Shakey's right here, laid down on my back like this for a second. Some kids were having a birthday party. They actually videotaped me. Then stood back up. My head was literally the size of a fucking balloon. It's crazy because apparently your skull is in plates and it has the capability of being able to expand. Because my head was huge. I don't know how my skull became this big, but it looked like something out of a cartoon. It looked like a straight cartoon character. And I began again yelling and spitting at the cops, get away from me, I didn't do anything, not realizing that I'd been shot in the head and they were trying to help me. Eventually the ambulance got there. And it seemed like forever for them to get there. They got there, I told them I had insurance. I told them to call my aunt. I told her, tell her don't worry, I'll be okay. And I went to go sit down as if I was going to sit in a chair. I landed flat on my ass and I fractured my tailbone when I did that. That sucks because that was the worst pain ever. And I woke up months later in a hospital, out of a coma. But mind you, while I was in a coma, my brain was exposed. And they were telling my family, if he lives, I'd be a paraplegic vegetable, brain dead from the neck down, period. That's what I was destined for. So my family's in there every day. I mean, I could only imagine. First, they had to sign what's it called? They had to give them permission to be able to remove my eye from my skull. My middle sister did, the next of kin. And that killed her to have to do that. So no, I'm not tripping. So they took my eyeball out because where he had shot me or how he had shot me, it pretty much blew the whole back of my eyeball out. And there was no way it would have just rotted in my skull if they tried to keep it in there.
You were shot on the...
I was shot once in the temple and once in the eyebrow.
On the left side.
The left side, yeah.
But the right side of your skull is like...
They removed this side of my skull to allow me to take one of the bullets.
It's kind of
it's
collapsed
flat.
in.
It's kind of flat. And yeah.
What kind of gun was it?
It was a .38. One of the bullets they took out, the other one was just too dangerous for them to take out.
So you have one bullet still in your brain?
Yes, sir. They told me I can never have an MRI because the magnetic pull from the MRI would literally rip the plate out, all the screws, any whatnot, any metal I have in my head, including a bullet. It'd rip it right out my brain. That's gnarly. Huh. So that, like I said, I was in a coma. I came out of a coma and immediately started ripping the wires out of my brain and the tubes out of my throat, penis, and everywhere else. Because everything I did was through a tube while I was in a coma. And they came in and they strapped me down to the bed. And anytime they unstrapped me, I did the same thing. So I stayed a good long period of time strapped down on this bed, and I used to beg the nurses. I'd tell them, I'll give you ecstasy, I'll give you crystal, I'll give you whatever you want. I've got anything you want. I got money. Please just unstrap me. Let me go home. That's all I would tell them every chance I got. And it never worked, no matter what I told them. I ended up spending 1.5 years in the hospital over at UCLA. over in Westwood. Spent a year and a half in the hospital, in which where I learned how to walk, talk, speak, I just learned how to function all over again.
Yeah, you do pretty good. You walk fine.
Thank you. Yeah, and now when I first came out of a coma, apparently when you lose your eye, your equilibrium gets fucked off, and you're unable to keep your balance and whatnot. And I don't know how that works, but I couldn't stand up if my life depended on me when I first started trying. Not to mention that broken tailbone killed me. It just hurt horribly. So they released me from the hospital, and but they released me with the whole right side of my skull missing. I had my hair and my skin, but no bone. Because see, what happened was, because he put the pistol to my head like this, it's kind of like the old cartoon when the guy puts his finger in the barrel and the backs up and kind of he's not able to shoot the gun and it blows up on him. Well, it's somewhat the same concept. Because he put the pistol to my head like this, it didn't have enough distance or velocity. It didn't have enough distance to pick up velocity to blow out the other side of my skull. So the bullets went in like a Y and stopped over here. So then they had to cut my skull open like this, peel back my skull, my scalp, remove the whole right side of my skull, and stitch it back together again without the skull. So this whole side of my head was soft. When I had come out of a coma, I had staples going from here to here, no bone all right here. If I slept on this side, my skull would sink in. If I fell asleep on this side, my brain would shift, and it would kind of look normal. I remember being at a strip club one time, and this chick was giving me a lap dance, and she went to go like this on my head, and she touched my skull and literally jumped off of me and fucking wigged out. That was humiliating. That was fucking sucked. And that was fucked up. I remember I paid for the lap dance, gave her a tip though. I'm sorry. What can I do? People were always amazed though when they would ask me what would happen or whatnot, and I don't know, it just kind of made me feel like Quasimodo. But 4.5 years later, they told me that my blood was the right thickness. It wasn't too thick, it wasn't too thin, and that they approved me to get my skull put back together again. And I could not wait to get that done, because before that, I had to walk on eggshells. I had to be afraid. They told me to wear a helmet. You wouldn't catch me dead with a helmet. I get my skull put back in. They couldn't put the initial piece that they had cut out. They were going to try to, but my skull had grown too much in that length of period of time that it didn't fit anymore. That bummed me out. So they actually put a plate in. So the whole right side of my skull is fake. I mean, it's not fake. It's there, but it's just not the original. It's not. They didn't quite put Humpty Dumpty back together again. But after they put my skull back together again, I kept getting these fucked up headaches. I mean, I couldn't tell you the amount of pain that these things. To this day, I don't know anything that's hurt as much as these headaches did. I couldn't do anything but crawl up into a ball, hold my skull, and just wish I would die. And I went back to the neurologist, and they did an EKG, because I can't have any MRIs. The MRIs would rip all the metal out of my head, straight through the bone and everything. That'd be nice. They did an EKG, and they realized I had an aneurysm in my brain. If you don't know what an aneurysm is, it's a blood clot. And the majority of people that have blood clots in their brain don't live. They find out when it's just a little too late after they've already popped and killed them. So they immediately put me on blood thinners, hoping that would break through and break on through to the other side or whatever you want to say. But that didn't work. So they had to rush me into surgery, where they went in through the bullet hole, right here, through the brain, or whatever you want to call it, and they popped this little blood clot, allowing the blood to freely pass through the brain. No more headaches. Well, I mean, headaches, yeah, I get them all the time, but not like that. You couldn't even begin to explain to you the amount of pain that these things would cause. So there I am. I've got my skull put back together again. I've got my blood clot taken away, and I've got an eye patch, which when you got a bald head, a big ass scar, and an eye patch in a small city like Culver City, every cop from Kalamazoo to Timbuktu knows exactly who you are. Not good. Definitely not good. They would go from making me their number one victim to their number one suspect. I mean, they fucked with me about everything. And every time they stop me, they say, I was the first cop there when you got shot. Kiss a fuck. I don't know. I got pretty bitter after a while towards the whole thing. I mean, my entire life changed after that day. There's no more going to school. There's no more pursuing a career. I can't retain information anymore. There's no more, I was going to join the Marines in case that didn't work out. I'd already spoken to them. No, they don't. The Marines don't want retards that have been shot in the head. Colleges don't want people that can't retain information. So they got better plans for guys like me. They decided to give them a retard check for once a month for the rest of their life. Not cool. Not what I intended. Not what I had planned out for me. Not to mention, I realized that 90% of the people that I thought were my friends, when you don't got money, drugs, cars, girls, and whatever else that young men can benefit from to a certain extent or are interested in it, all those people that you thought were friends, they're nowhere to be found. Nowhere at all. They're not trying to hear your problems. They're not trying to... People can be pretty cruel. And to top it off, that fucking bitch that I got shot over, decided to get up and leave for a whole nother dude. Not even the dude that I got shot over. I mean, not even the dude that shot me. A whole nother guy who was affiliated with a group of guys that shot at us over at her house. She called me 2.5 years later. She said she was pregnant and he had kicked her out on the streets and she had nowhere to go. Would I help her? I paused for a second. I said, what the fuck? I said, yeah. I said, go ahead and come by my house tomorrow, first thing in the morning. Bright and early. Make sure you show up with a smile. By the grace of God, she was smart enough to not to come by my house. No. That wouldn't have been good.
What happened to the guy?
Huh?
What happened to the guy that shot you?
Oh, yeah, there we go. The guy that shot me. Shortly after shooting me in the head while I was in a hospital, they snatched him up and started questioning him, and he confessed. He told them everything from it was because he was mad, to it was an accident, to he didn't mean to tell them all kinds of bullshit. To what happened with them guys shooting at us, he even included that into it. And shortly after I got put back together again, you could say, I started getting kites from the county. From him, talking about he needs me to help him, he's going to get life. Now, I know most people would probably say I'm fucking nuts. I live in a weird world. You could say my reality is not quite normal. But when I started getting these kites from the county talking about he needs me to help him, he's going to get life, what are my options? I say I don't remember nothing. That's just as good as telling on him. I ain't never told on nobody in my life. Sure enough fuck I was going to start doing it then. Or I meet up with this lawyer, figure out what he's saying and help him. And when he gets out and enough time goes by, I go visit him. Yeah. Or I could tell on him, which, you know what, I haven't told on nobody in my life as of yet, and I sure enough fucking gonna do it now. So I went ahead with the option to help him. I shot him a kite back and said, you gotta call me and ask me yourself. And we'll go from there. And eventually he gathered up enough courage and balls from him and his cellies, you could say, for a whole week. And he called me. And I told him, have your chicken shit mom come bring me $4,000. I said only $4,000 because I knew it would have made her life fucking miserable just to get together $4,000 because she's a broke piece of shit, as he is too. And I'll talk to your lawyer. So eventually they got it together. I don't know if they had car washes, what they had to do. But their ghetto asses got it together. And then I called his attorney. And I met with his attorney over at a diner called Ruby's Diner. We sat down, and the first thing I said to him was, so what do I got to say? He said, I can't tell you that. I said, why the fuck are we here? He says, they told me you wanted to talk to me. I said, all right, cool, then check it out. Let me read every statement he made. Let me hear any kind of recordings and everything, any kind of confession or whatever, anything that he said or has to do with his case against me. And he did. And he told them everything about what happened with them guys that night when they shot at us. He told him everything from it was an accident, to he did it because he was mad, to he didn't mean to he was scared that I was going to shoot him, to... So when I got sick enough of hearing this bullshit, I told this attorney, this is what I'm going to say. I went to court and I said that him and I were best friends. I said I picked him up that night so we could talk about old girl. I said I had a gun in case anybody rolled up on us. I said I pulled over a shaky so he could use the bathroom, and I gave him my gun just in case anybody rolled up on him when he was going to the bathroom. I said when he came back from the bathroom, I was standing outside the car smoking a cigarette. So we started talking about old girl. So the conversation got heated. I said I remember I got so mad that I rushed him. When I rushed him, it went off on accident. Twice in my head, point blank, with a revolver. You got to pull the hammer back every time you pull the trigger. There's no way it's going to go off on accident twice. But that saved his ass. It shouldn't have fuck did. He didn't get no attempt. He didn't get no premeditated, no nothing, no assault, no none of the sort. He got an ex-con with a firearm. He got I forget what the other, something to do with mayhem. But not like, it wasn't like intentionally, not like you intentionally went and caused me to lose my eye. It was,
You lied for him.
yeah. I made sure. He ain't gonna do me no good busted. I'll never be able to get to his ass in the pen. There's no way in hell they'd ever put us in the same yard. No way whatsoever. My entire life changed when that motherfucker made that decision to shoot me over a girl he was with 7 years before. His motherfucking mother should have swallowed him. With that being said, what I did saved his ass. And since then, he got out. I was there the night he got out. He doesn't know it, but I was there. I watched him. He was ecstatic to be out. This motherfucker got a job as a plumber. I was a plumber before I got shot. This punk bitch motherfucker decided to start going out with a girl that I used to date in high school. Get comfortable. Get real comfortable. Yeah, I helped him. I made sure he got out. For my own selfish reasons. And that's that. That's where we're at this point.
Life is a interesting journey, isn't it?
Oh, it sure the hell is. And I'll tell you one thing. My parents died when I was 16 months. You couldn't tell me that I'd start my life all over again with my mom and dad alive, and I'd never have to struggle or fucking go through a hard day in my life, not a second of my life. I'd have everything and anything I wanted, be the most popular, loved person in the world with billions of dollars if I just let this motherfucker live happily ever after. And I tell you, you know what? I'm a rot in hell because this son of a bitch is not going to live happily ever after. I used to have dreams, not nightmares, dreams of me and my grandmother torturing this motherfucker while I was in the hospital. Literally shaving his skin off with knives. Some people would call those PTSD or no, they made me happy.
You sure revenge is what you want?
Yeah, without a doubt. The feeling I'm gonna have inside of me when this motherfucker's standing in front of me and he realizes that I'm his maker and this motherfucker's gonna die is better than any nut that you'd ever bust, I'll tell you that much. Fuck this son of a bitch. Real quick. Not too long ago, I accidentally ran into him at the market. I was in the same aisle as this motherfucker. We caught eye contact. I called him a bitch, a punk, and a lame, which are harsh words for a man that's been in prison for a while. He put his head down and quickly walked out the other exit and sat in his car. It looked like he was hyperventilating. Then he drove off real quick. I didn't have the proper utensils with me at the moment. I'm not gonna have some police report of me hitting this man or fighting or nothing like that. No. I waited a long time for this motherfucker. Now, yeah, I've been shot in the head, granted, twice, and I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I sure enough fuck I am. Not no idiot, I'll tell you that much.
You're a survivor.
That I am. Tell you, that was the hardest thing I ever went through in my life. I probably will be the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life.
It might not if you get your wishes.
Huh?
It might not if you get your wishes, because you could be doing a lot of time in a prison.
No. That's what you don't get. Since then, I've been arrested numerous times. And fortunately, due to my brain injury, don't tell nobody. I've been able to Avoid doing a lot of time. Here's an example. The Constitution says everybody's entitled to a fair trial. If you can't be of equal use to yourself or to your attorney, the defense of your child, they cannot prosecute you. Mind you, in most circumstances, there's somebody who's mentally ill, not on their medication. They go to court, they act out in the middle of a trial or whatever. They're not in the right state of mind. You can't, they're out of their mind. How are you going to sit there and take them to trial and expect them to be given a fair trial? They're not level-headed. They stop. They have a doctor evaluate them. They say, no, they're incompetent. They call them incompetent stand child, 1370. From that point on, they got up to 4 years from the day they were arrested to restore them back to competency, get them stable or whatever it is they got to do, and then return them back to court and prosecute them. Well, fortunately, I got busted. I was looking at 16 years. Got caught red-handed, coming out of a ride-aid in a robbery. Ran right into a cop car. Well, it was a petty theft that was declared a robbery because I was fighting loss prevention. And cops just happened to be driving by, thought I was getting jumped. I ran right into the cop car. So they had me for 2 counts of 211, which is 2 counts of strong arm robbery and possession of heroin with intent to distribute. It was 4 years for each count. There was 2 counts because there was 2 loss prevention officers, doubled up because of my priors plus another strike. 16 years was my deal. My attorney said, I don't know what to do, man. You ran right into the cop car. He said, I'm going to tell him you're incompetent. I'm going to tell him your memory is so bad because of your gunshot wound, you wouldn't be able to follow along well enough into a trial to where you'd be entitled to a fair trial. I said, what do you mean? He said, if you can't be given a fair trial, they can't prosecute you. I said, all right. So I went back to my cell and I thought about that. And then one day I got a pass. Now, mind you, there's doors in the county, in the LA County Jail, that just nobody ever comes out of, no one really ever goes in. What happens in there, you really don't want to know because a lot of times people just don't come back out of those doors. And I get a pass one day, and all of a sudden one of the cops opens up a door like that and tells me, okay, go in there. I said, I'm not going in there. What I got to go in there for? He said, go in there. There's someone here to see you. I said, no, I'm not going in there. He chuckles. I said, what is so funny? He said, why don't you want to go in there? I said, because I don't think I'm going to ever come out of that motherfucker. What did I do? He said, there's a doctor here to see you. I said, oh, all right, cool. I've been waiting for it. I go in there. I sit down. There's a chair, a desk, and a chair. It's like something out of a movie. And then a couple minutes later, this beautiful woman comes in. And they open the door, and then they shut the door. And it's just her and I in there. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in here? She says, I'm Dr. So-and-so with the state of California. I said, all right. She said, I'm going to give you a memory test. I'm going to see if you're competent. She tells me 10 random things. Some court-related, some not court-related. She asked me to remember them. Okay? She starts asking me my name, where I live, my age, etc. Then a couple of seconds later, it comes back to, now what were those things that I asked you to remember? And unfortunately, I was struggling, and I was able to remember about 3 of them. And she stopped me. She said, you're incompetent. You can't go to trial. You've got dementia. There's no way you'd be given a fair trial if you went to court, if you went to trial. There's no way you'd be able to follow along well enough. That was a home run hit. So from that point on, from the day I was arrested, they had up to 4 years to restore me to competency. There was nothing they could do for a 10-year-old brain injury. They declared me incompetent, unrestorable to competency. Meaning, no matter how hard they try, no matter how hard they push, they can't convict me. All I gotta do is rock back and forth and act retarded. I got action as far as doing time goes. Not to incriminate myself, but
I think you're better off just enjoying life. You're lucky to be alive.
True, but fuck that motherfucker. I didn't kill his mom and dad, and that's the only pass he'll get from me. Straight up. I thought about whacking his son. I thought about whacking his mom. I thought about whacking his dad. I found that immorally correct. If that was the case, I would have left him in there. I wouldn't have told on him, but I wouldn't have made sure he got out. Someone like that has no business in society. And there's very, very easy ways of doing it too. Fentanyl's a motherfucker nowadays, you know?
Everybody's using it too.
You're goddamn shamed. Who knows? And that's my story in a nutshell.
You have an interesting one.
Thank you.
All right, One-Eyed Jack. Thank you so much. I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you.
Stay out of trouble.